Welcome everybody back to the Lost Beat 6 show. I'm your host Stephen. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're with us. We are chuggling. We are chuggling. We're moving right along on the making the scenes experience with PLaNETS. This week's guest is the wonderful Myriad Slits of Modpods fame. She was awesome to have her. You know, she was a great hang, and it was really great to talk to her about a number of things beyond her story and the PLaNETS. We got some Beatles chat in there. It's always, you'll get a good Beatles chat with me once in a while. So that happens, but it was all good. Before we go on, not too much to write home about this week. We got things in process. We are closing in on an announcement of a date to release Beefin' Around the World, and we're really excited about that. And some other things are happening. I know Denim Emperor's brewing up some stuff. Dr. Fun's brewing up some stuff. Anyway, it was been a long week. We did some shooting in the desert, and so we had a good time hanging out with Sean Holt, or we might be doing some things. I'm looking forward to working with him on some future projects as well, and very happy he could give us a place to stay that was safe, a safe haven in the desert there. Anyway, not much. We're just going to get right into this, and Myriad was wonderful to talk to, and I believe they have a project coming out, so we should. I have links in the show notes that you should check out to follow them, follow her work. It's all really cool stuff, and I hope you enjoy the show. Whenever it's well, the album is In the Court of the Crimson King.
Uh-huh.
And the name of the band
is
King Crimson.
King Crim. Oh my God, I was just yeah, see, pothead. Yeah, I was yeah. God, that's so easy too. It's so easy.
It's and then there's you could see Robert Fripp and Bill Bruford. Those are the other records. I'm a fan of the mid '70s, early '80s period.
I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I'm a fan of that, of all of it. But yeah, '70s and '80s is fun.
But yeah, it's a good time. Welcome to the show. Thanks for making the scene. All that good stuff. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing all right.
This is actually me interviewing you. Surprise.
Fair enough. I'd be happy to answer any questions you have about me, because that's kind of a fun thing in this show where I've been able to do that a little bit more than for people who don't know me as well. There's been a few who do, so it's been like I'm starting to notice in these podcasts that I've been doing with the PLaNETS scene and the groups that orbit it, is I've been using first names. I'm a very big first name person, so there's a level of for people who are not, and I can see who listens to all this, so I can see there's a bunch of people from there's a couple in Europe and across the country, and they're like, who's he talking about when they're talking about who's Joe, who's Adam, which Adam is it? Is it Stilly? Is it Cotton? Is it Zach Dylan? Who's so it's a fun, it's these people, I just I'm so into the conversation with these people that I don't quite understand who I'm always I don't reference exactly in last names who they are.
Yeah, and there's like 20 Adams that everyone knows. Everyone's got 20 Adams in their life.
Or there's a Jeff or an Ethan. Everybody knows
Definitely
in this group.
Ethan. Yeah.
Everybody knows who I'm talking about when I talk to them about it, including those people.
Yeah.
But not everybody does. So, sorry, everybody. But anyway, I like I just mentioned to you earlier, I'm least familiar with Modpods in this group, so I am fascinated to learn all about your story and how you found yourself with this group of people.
with the motley crew
With the motley
of
crew.
PLaNETS.
This predicament you're in.
This relationship I found myself in,
Right.
with the PLaNETS and the Stillwell. Geez, Louise. Well, I lived in downtown. I actually lived like a 10-minute walk from Casey's, and I lived in an old printing factory that was right in front of the Pico Blue Line stop. Like literally right, if you take the Blue Line train, the first stop after the 7th Street stop, it's the Pico Blue Line stop. And you look to your left, there's a brick building, and it says Venus Printing. And I lived in that building. And it used to look out to the Staples Center, back when rent was very cheap there and no one would, hang out in downtown after 7 p.m. unless there was a Laker game.
Right.
So, yeah, I lived in downtown, really super cheap rent. Had a band, was in the Modpods with my friend Daniel. Geez, I'm all like, I feel like I was like I'm going to try my best to be eloquent, but then when I start talking, I'm like, what am I supposed to say? Let me grab the words.
This is super casual, so fear not.
I know. It'll start. But I lived downtown. Yeah, I'm still working on it. I'm always working on it. But I had Modpods, we didn't really have much experience playing. Like, actually, we had no experience really playing at like venues, like at bars and stuff. It was like a total started out as like a total art fart experiment with just me and a tape deck. Because I really I love music a lot, and I just had to make music, and then it just kind of like snowballed little by little into like me having a bandmate, and then that bandmate leaving, and then Daniel eventually joined, and then we were together, not together, but like we were a band. And there was this period in my life where I was very unstable, but for as unstable as I was very committed to like creating and being Modpods and figuring out my music sound or whatever. Mm-hmm. But there was like this really funky period where like I didn't live anywhere. Like I couldn't, like I would find a place and then I just wouldn't be able to like keep it together, and I'd have to like find another place, and I didn't really like live anywhere. And like eventually I just like found myself in downtown. A little bit before that time, we had done a show, Modpods. It was when it was just me and Samantha. We did a show at a paint warehouse because my friend ran a paint warehouse. Like that's the kind of shows that I was playing before I met PLaNETS, was like, I have this band and no one really knows what to like make of my band, but I've got friends with like a paint warehouse. And then when I moved to this spot in downtown, the printing factory, all of a sudden I had like space, and I actually, that was like the first space that I was able to settle into for like a good amount of time. Whereas like before I couldn't live anywhere past 6 months. I don't know how many times I moved around, until I finally like landed in downtown. That show that we did though at the painting factory, I met Black Party Politics. I don't remember how we got to play with them, but I remember that someone recommended them and they said yes. And I met Eddie. Eddie was the lead singer of Black Party Politics, and we played this paint warehouse. Fast forward years later, I'm now living in downtown. I remember this. I remember this day. This day I feel like I could probably say without feeling like I have to grab the words from the air. But I remember I was working at the Rita Hayworth Theater. I was making a set. And I remember feeling really frustrated, like the night before Daniel and I had like had this whole conversation about like, we don't really like know like band people, and like, yeah, this is really cool that like I get to, that we like are throwing these parties where our band plays, but like no one really like we don't really know what we're doing. Like we really wanted band friends. Like we really wanted that feeling of like knowing other people that play music and like just having a relationship and like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
And we were like really like kind of like, being a little crybaby about it. Not literally, like we weren't, but we were just kind of like, man, like it'd be really good to like make some band friends. And I remember like the next day I'm at the Rita Hayworth and I'm like making the set and I'm all pissed off because I don't really want to make the set, but I've been lucky enough to like have people that like the stuff that I make, that they've given me these gigs that sometimes I'm like, I don't really know what the hell you think I am, but okay, I'm going to make you a set. And I remember being kind of like, I'm making a set and like, I just want to play music. And like, I remember it was so like really being a little like dramatic maybe. And I remember I'm painting like outside. I just want to make music, but I have to make the set. And then Eddie calls me and I haven't heard from him I hadn't heard from him in a very long, like I remember being like, Eddie, like, oh, hi, you know? And he was like really excited. He was like so excited. He was like, you have to come to Casey's tonight. We're playing with this band and like, you just have to meet them. And like, you just have to come tonight. It's like, you know, really close to you. And even though I had been lamenting with Daniel, like I was like, Casey's? Are you kidding me? Like first of all, like what I know of Casey's, like the times that the 1 or 2 times that I went there, is that like the only people that hung out at Casey's were people that were just getting off of work that needed a drink, or like a bunch of like college bros. Like that's Casey's. Like that is still Casey's. So I'm just kind of, you know, I was kind of like, oh, like really, you want to go to Casey's? Like I don't know if I'm really going to like that, but Eddie seems really like excited and passionate about, you know, me coming there and meeting PLaNETS and like seeing the show. And I remember I called Daniel. I called him and I was like, Eddie just called me. He just said that, you know, there's this band we have to meet. We were just talking about this. And we both were kind of like, oh, like, we don't, like, Casey's, like, do you really want to go to this? And I was like, yes, we have to go. Like, I don't care how grumpy we are. We're going to go because we just have to. We can't have been like crying about this the night before. And then this like out of nowhere phone call happens. And then I'm just going to ignore it.
Right.
So we like grumpy baby, like sledged our way over there. And I remember like, you know, just waiting, like PLaNETS getting ready and stuff. I was very like, I don't know. I was just like, okay, here we go. This band's gonna play. Like, and then I remember, like, I mean, you know,
I know that.
Here's the thing. Like, no one wanted to be. Like, yes, I was lamenting about wanting band friends and stuff. And, like, I'm so thankful that, like, Eddie was he was a friend, but, like, I hadn't seen him in years. We weren't really in a scene together. And Black Party Politics was way more of, like, a professional band than what Daniel and I were doing. Like, I mean, you've heard us. I don't know how you want to describe us, but, like, in that time, like, you know, we were like, everything was coming out of a tape deck and like, it was messy and raw, but we definitely were honing in on it. Okay. Mm-hmm. And like, it was really hard. Like I wanted to play these spaces, but like people weren't exactly warm. Like, I'm sure there were other moments where I was told like, oh, you have to meet this person. They're in a band. And I'm pretty sure that they were assholes to me. And that's kind of the attitude that I kind of came to Casey's with. This is like, okay, I meet this band that's going to be really cool. And like, I'm sure, it's a guy lead singer. Oh, brother, like this, you know, they're not gonna really care. And then PLaNETS starts. And I remember that the like standing there and the shadow puppet part started and like, it was right next to me and just like lit up next to me. And I'm a art teacher. I'm an artist. I make stuff. Adam and I are very much on like parallel similarities of the kind of things that we've done, but like two very like I also like you know, used to put shows together, used to put like theatrical things together, get my friends together. But I remember like being in just that feeling of being in a situation where I wasn't the one in charge, you know, and it was like allowing me to be like I I wasn't in charge, so I was able to let go. Like the second that shadow puppet started, and I remember like the like dancing, and I just like slowly started like letting go. Like I was allowed to like let go and give in to whatever the hell was happening. And it was like theatrical, and it was like, I mean, I've heard, you know, it was like breaking down the fourth wall. And I mean, I came from theater school and I was able to like identify with all the stuff that was happening, but it just felt good that it wasn't like me in charge. It's always been me in charge making those things happen. Now I'm at Casey's and I'm in this weird back room and this thing is happening and I can let go and it's totally taking over and it's happening. And then the books came out. The pages started getting ripped open. And then there was a shower of pages. And Daniel and I were just like ecstatic to be like showered in all these like ripped up pages. I was just so excited. Like it was just an exciting thing. And yeah, I remember afterwards, Eddie introduced me to Adam. And I remember he said something like, yeah, like Eddie was like, this is Modpods, you know, like whatever you're supposed to say, like you gotta check them out or whatever. And Adam was so open to it. Like I remember him being like, hell yeah, band friends. And like, if it was a cartoon, and I remember that moment, like if he was like, I had never met him before.
Okay.
And he said, hell, the one thing I remember coming out of his mouth is after Eddie introduced us, that he was like, hell yeah, band friends.
Oh
and
my
if it was a cartoon scene, like if it was a cartoon, Daniel and I, like we would have like been like these like puppies that all of a sudden like our tails, like we just we got so excited. Like we probably didn't show it. We probably were being like very like, but like I remember the second he said band friends, just kind of like wanting to like grab his hand and be like, he just said band friends. I think we're making band friends. Like this guy that just like, you know, like they just did shadow puppets and showered us with books. Like they want to be our band friends. But also being very reserved, cool.
Sure.
Because yeah, he's saying band friends, but you know, what does that really mean?
Right, yeah.
Anyone can say that they're your friend, but you know, it's a week or so later, he like hit us up and was like, come play Casey's. And we were like, okay. And this is when it was just Daniel and I. And I remember that show too. Like I remember showing up. I remember that like Joseph Hugh, who, he was so nice. He like helped us load our stuff in and they were just so nice. And I remember that feeling very like surprising for me. Just how kind they were and how like they were totally helpful. They weren't like standoffish. Like I'd seen other bands be like, where like, you know, a band is playing with another band and they're just kind of like playing that whole game.
There's a competitive level to that.
Like, that's so like
strange. Yeah. I was thinking about that.
It's like the number one way to like get like to turn off Modpods is to like play a show where it's just that vibe. Like we're just not gonna like, but like they were so we're not into it. But they were so warm and they like were so like helpful with loading up our stuff. And then we played and it felt like an immediate like a love affair.
That's great.
Between us. And I mean we didn't have like CDs, we didn't have buttons, we didn't have shirts. We were just like these two people with a bunch of instruments and we would do our thing. Because of Casey's though, because of Adam and like letting us play Casey's, like people would see us and then some people would give us other gigs from watching us at Casey's, which was really cool.
That's cool.
Mindy, who became the third member, before she joined, Daniel and I did a interview for a podcast that she was doing sound for, which was just a 2-minute walk away from Casey's. And we were like promoting a show that we were doing at Casey's, and she actually came and checked us out. And she later on would join Modpods. Right. Damien, who did the sound, he recorded our first EP And our first album, No Strut, we recorded with Damien, who we wouldn't have met if it weren't for Casey. So there's like all these little things that just kind of like, it was like the initial snowball effect that, you know, if I don't know, I don't it isn't that I don't like to imagine, but I just don't imagine what would have gone down without Casey's, but it was like definitely like a necessary. I don't know what would have been without an Adam Stillwell being like, hell yeah, band friends, and just like, I really like how do you explain that? Like, how do you like, would we have had a Mindy? Like, would we have met a Damien that would be like, come record with me at my awesome, you know, apartment in downtown that was 2 blocks away from the Cecil. We actually recorded our EP while the whole thing was going down with them. They just put out that documentary series, you know, on Elisa Lam. And it reminded me of how we recorded our first EP when that was happening, and how weird that was when it was happening. But yeah, like, what would have gone, like, what if Daniel and I were like, Eddie called, but I'm tired. Like,
it's amazing. I have a similar story, but it's not as cool as that. But essentially, I think and most people know in this series that I've explained my experience is similar to yours in the going down to Father Time's Christmas Special 2016. And that was
with all the sex toys. Was that the sex toy gifts?
I wish it was. I don't think it was, though. I missed out on that one.
There were so many sex toys at that one. It was insane, but go on.
Oh, man. Oh, I'm really missing. Okay.
You're like, no, we just drank eggnog and told stories.
No, I was crying. No, it was the bummer year. That was the first. That was the first of the bummer years, right? No, I had just started working with the Zemed brothers around 20. I met them like 2014. Got to know them better 2015, and then they asked me to help them out on a project for their Everly Brothers program in late 2016, just before like they were coming back from a year of touring around the country, and then they were coming back to do like a video recording of it, and then they're going back touring for next 3 years. And they Bert was in the band. Bert Velke was in the band, and so was Brandon Stroop, and they were all talking about like, hey, we're going to be at this, I'm not even sure if they may have mentioned it, like, hey, I'm coming to this Christmas party thing if you want to come. It's at Casey's. And I did not know it was a PLaNETS thing. I thought it was like them and some buddies like that. Like, I thought it was like as a med show, and it was a much, much bigger,
like a jam fest.
Yeah. More organized, phenomenon of Father Time and Adam, and I didn't know any of these people, but they were having a very, very good time, and it was very. I think I've been going on this thing of levels of cynicism and lack of it, and that was one of those things where I found that there was not a cynical bone in any of those people's bodies, and it was and that was a revelation to me. As like I said, this has been a repeated story at this point, but this is for you anyway, for your information.
No, but I get it though. Like, just like genuine, like it doesn't really like, it didn't really matter like whether Modpods don't sound like PLaNETS, but it really doesn't like I'm a huge like music lover. It really does not matter what like the other bands sound like. It's pure magic when there is kindness and sincerity and like genuinely like good just truthfulness, I guess. I don't know if that sounds cheesy, but like I'm an art teacher for kids. I teach little ones, and that's like that's great. That's the biggest thing that I try to like get across as a teacher is like having these kids feel comfortable in their own to self-express, because you'd be surprised at how a lot of babies they're, it's like, oh, it's art class. They get really nervous about it because they think they're supposed to like produce like a masterpiece. And it's like, dude, you're freaking 4, you're 5. Like, why are you this nervous about this? And it's like the biggest lesson that I can give, like the biggest thing that I can give to them is for them to just, it doesn't matter whatever the fuck it is that we're creating. What does matter is that it's true for us and that we're kind, I guess. I don't know.
No, for sure.
Because magic happens. Magic happens. Like things happen when everyone is supporting each other and like pushing each other and challenging each other and not being an asshole to each other. Yeah.
I'm glad. That's awesome. You're an art teacher, by the way. I had a K through 8 middle school experience, so I had like a very small class, and the only elective was art, which is really cool in that regard, where it's like 3 years of it, and then I took another one in high school, like right after. So it was like 4 straight years of like nothing but like art class. And I always struggled with craftsmanship. I always thought that's, because I always noticed I have to back up a little bit because I had like 2. There was like my first art teacher was she tended to be more craftsmanship focused, which which bugged me. And she went on a maternity leave and never came back. And
she was like, done. I wouldn't want to come back if I had a kid after being a teacher. Go on. Yeah.
and the next teacher was like he was a dude. He was like a surfer, played guitar. He had a project where you were supposed to like make a piece that fit a piece of music that was inspired by like. I remember doing like Strange Brew by Cream and making like kind of
that's pretty cool
starbursts and stuff. Anyway, and I had and for my forced perspective, it was or for my 2-point perspective, I did like Capitol Records as the focal point, the center. So anyway, the point was he was far more into higher concepts. As long as the concepts were good, the craftsmanship didn't matter. And that's kind of the point that really needs to be hit home, is that it's the message.
I totally agree. And the honing in on it, like something that I really do not like about art, and this is like all art in general, is that there's sort of like this elitism to it, where it's like, well, you can only make music if, and you can only make art if, and it's like, no, like it doesn't belong to a specific type of person who's got this specific type of skill. Like anyone and everyone is allowed to make and can make and should make whatever thing it is that they want to make, whether it looks like a flaming, pile of garbage to you, or even if it's like not the way you think it is. If I continue working on the same weird looking scribble, eventually I'm going to figure out my own style of perfecting that weird ass scribble. And that's very much what I knew that I wanted to make music, but there was so much like elitism to it, where it was like, well, like, do you play guitar? Like, oh, well, if you're a lead singer, and it was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna like gather my tape decks and like I'm gonna figure it out on my own, like how I'm going to make my music. And I've been lucky enough, and everything that I work in and I try is like I've been lucky enough to have friends. I don't know, like this, like I don't know what would have happened if it wasn't for Casey's. Same way, I don't know what Modpods would be if I hadn't have met Daniel, who like was like, yeah, let me, I know how to play guitar. I know how to, play bass. I just got this drum kit. I don't really know how to play drums, but I want to learn how to play drums. So can I join your band? And it's like, never like came down on me. Like, a couple of times he has. I remember one of the first times we tried to record something together, he'd be like, you need to come in on the 3. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And it really pissed him off. But he's not an asshole to me. And like, it's just like the act of collaborating and like just allowing these like ideas to flow and being open to the challenge also of this is a weird song, but like, how can we make it more of a song? I don't know.
No, it's great. It's I was kind of working on a tune myself where I feel that in my musical experiences that I'm very much a codependent. And that's probably because I'm an engineer and I need music to mix. I need people to, play so I can engineer it. And then I also, and I'm also mostly a drummer, and I need, and drums are great on their own, but oftentimes you really need a bass player to make it, to get to develop a groove. You need a guitar player kind of, so like that's, and so even making stuff on my own is very, I myself get very, was it fraud complex?
Oh, it's called oh my gosh, it's called the imposter syndrome.
Imposter, that's the one. It's a combination of like a low self-esteem and imposter syndrome, where it's like, yeah, I need this, and I just need this to happen. Even like in my producer brain, I get like,
I think we all we all get it. We all get the imposter syndrome,
right?
But
right.
We just gotta say, fuck it. Whoever will like me will like me, I guess.
Right. And part of that's even just like right now, like I don't, like I have a certain drum sound, but even recording drums, I don't record to click well. So even when I'm playing, I was programming something on my computer the other day, and it's turning out, and I'm trying to get like the Ginger Baker sound, the kind of, and I'm actually, and the way I tend to put things together, I'm very much, I have maybe a hip hop sensibility of collaging things, but actually playing them, if that makes any sense. So it's like I know exactly where things are coming from. Like, oh, that's a Ginger Baker lift, but I'm actually taking the melody and the harmonies. Actually, right now, the one I'm working on is like is a very, very old Italian opera from like the Baroque period, but it's a really cool melody, and it's strange. I don't know. I don't want to. It's in development. I don't want to talk about it too much, but no, but I don't know. The point is there's a lot of, the stealing is stealing for the right reasons, I suppose, is one of those cool things. But so anyway, the I don't know where I was going with that, but essentially like it's there's a whole, I tend to be not too much of a high detail person sometimes. If I get like, sometimes I know I have to be into the details, but sometimes I just rather not do it. And I have people to help me out with that. But like this project, we were working on that had a lot of horns. We wanted horn sections to it, but I don't write horns. I don't arrange them. And I brought a horn player in to do a couple tunes, and he's just like, yeah, you just figure something out. We'll make it work. And he's like, I have no idea what you want me to do. And then my friend Ryan, who goes, I'll do it. So go home. We'll take it out. We'll take it out next week.
He played the horns?
No, he arranged them.
Okay.
And he's more of a composer. He'll arrange everything.
Okay.
And there's a whole musical level to that too, where that was part of my music. I went to I am a music major, so I have an idea of what it takes to do these things. But like, transposing was like a pain in the ass, especially for horns, because they're all transposed, like they're all in like the key of B flat or something like that. And so to transpose it off of like a piano keyboard, it's a whole different scale. So
that's all the technical stuff.
It's a little bit of a technical thing that and I never liked doing that. That for me, that was like my math. That was like difficult math stuff. And I kind of realized that where in school, like I knew the concepts of calculus I know what they're trying to do in calculus, but I was always making those tiny decimal details that would force me to get a C in the test. Anyway, was there a style that you were kind of going or lifting off of, or because the Modpod sound is very. I do like the minimalism involved with like the drum beats and how they build off of it, and how the grooves develop over time. Was there any style you were kind of?
No, the style is I make a beat and mumble some stuff until I finally like the song. I don't really know what I've always said that Modpods, our genre is awkward dance music for making out.
Okay.
But I'm open ears. Like if you want to tell me what you think we sound like, I will hear it. But I really don't know I don't even know what our style is. It's the style is Myriad Slits needing to write songs to feel
that
better.
That works. No, so here's the thing: is if I tell you what I thought, oh, that sounds like so and so, then it might and this is part of me in my postmodern brain, knowing having the ability to kind of extrapolate where the influences come from, where I think the influences come from, and it might be better if I don't say that.
No, try me.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you this: before a very pivotal. I mean, this is kind of silly, but before I moved to downtown, there was a period where I was I tried to go back to the desert. I moved out of my hometown when the second I graduated high school. I left. Oh God, my age is going to be revealed.
Oh. We don't have to go into that.
Okay, but I haven't lived
your
home.
Ex. Yeah.
Yeah, but that was, it wasn't it was 99 there. I moved out in 1999.
Okay.
From 1999 till now, I've only gone home once thinking that it was the thing I'm going to go home and I'm going to get my shit together and I'm going to get a job there and I'm going to save up my money and then I'll go back to LA because I was just so in flux at this time. This is before I moved to downtown.
Okay.
After 2 months, I was like, I can't do this. I'm just going to go to LA with my fucking backpack. I have friends, I'll figure it out. Daniel and I were already friends, but he did something that really, I feel really cemented our relationship, not only as friends, but also as musician partners, people that make music together, which is, he was house sitting this gorgeous house in Highland Park. And he let me practically live with him. Before, this is right before I found my place in downtown. While living with him in this fancy house bliss, pretending like I'm not living out of a backpack, the person whose house this is had every single Beatles album and the crazy Beatles anthology documentary. And Daniel, I don't even know what, it wasn't we were let's go into a Beatles thing. But he very simply asked, do you think the Beatles were artistically fulfilled while being the Beatles? And I was like, no. And it became this it wasn't an argument. It became this very deep, studious, auditory studying session where we watched the 20 hours of this documentary. We listened to every single album. We and in it, it became, I don't want to say romantic, not romantic between Daniel and I, but romantic with we got so engrossed in trying to figure out whether the Beatles were artistically fulfilled and just their whole sound. And it was one of the purest, most honest bonding experiences I've ever had. And that's how you if you start talking music with me, it's over. I don't know everything, but I remember the Beatles, that Beatles vacation honeymoon was a very big pivotal thing. And I don't think if that had happened, I don't know, if Daniel had without that Beatles weekend getaway, I don't know if I would have been join my band, when he was I don't that was definitely you're cool. I like you. Music.
We might. All right. Have you reached a conclusion on your end about that?
They weren't. They did amazing things, but them personally were not artistically fulfilled. That's why they broke up.
Okay.
Self. They had. We're really gonna get into this. We're supposed to be talking about PLaNETS.
No, this is okay.
But I don't think that they were. I don't think that they felt like they were doing. The things that they really wanted to be doing towards the end there.
Okay.
But I fucking love the Beatles. I think there's those the White Album, Revolver's a really big favorite for me.
That's fine too.
Funny enough, I'm not a big Sgt. Pepper's fan, but everyone's like Sgt. Pepper's. I like Abbey Road a lot, especially the B-side. Amazing stuff, but I don't think that they felt like they were complete towards the end. I think they really wanted to.
Okay. I feel like the answer is no, yes, no. It depends on what period of time we're talking about here.
Yeah, for towards the end.
Okay.
The last, not the early. And oh my God, this is like a whole other podcast, but I always flip out.
We can have you back too if you want to talk about this too.
But I just want to say this. I always flip out when people that are too cool are like, oh, the Beatles are so overrated. And it's like, no, what the fuck is wrong with you? Do you even like music? Are you the Beatles were a boy band that were drowned out by their fans, and they could have easily been this is what we're going to keep doing. But they were like, no, we're going to go in the studio and make up these fucking songs that could not be duplicated live. And just how they became a studio. The studio band period of Beatles is my favorite.
I think that's a Gen Z take. That's a very new take that it's because I watched a video on YouTube that there was a guy that was younger than me. I feel like I'm the last of the millennials, just so you get an idea of how old I am. But the idea that because if you look at the people that were actually digging what they were doing. And it was all these folky acts. There was the the McGuinns and Stephen Stills, the Buffalo Springfield, and a lot of these people that kind of liked Dylan and liked the Beatles, and they kind of formed those folk rock acts. And there was all those bands. Tom Petty was kid. They're I want to do that. I want to There's a bunch of these artists and that were Beatle and these were, and it was not when they were making Revolver. It was definitely when they were doing Hard Day's Night. And Hard Day's Night's kind of that threshold of they actually got to see him in the theater, and you got to see the songs. That you could hear the songs. Even
I love A Hard Day's Night. I
wonderful film. I love Help. It's a crazy movie.
I love Help too. So, I know a lot of people don't like Help, but I love Help. The Ring.
It's fantastic. There's so many acts, and I read this book a couple years ago about chronicalizing the year 1966 and how everything kind of developed, and it starts just at the end of when Rubber Soul was released in 1965, and then up and through the end of where they were making Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane at the end. So all those Sgt. Pepper tunes were being made at the end of 66 and then developing on into 67, and it's really interesting to see who was actually the artist and who was actually the, who didn't want to be the artist and who, and all those guys. And I'm going into super, super Beatle trivia here. But when they were able to they took a break in early 66 to kind of unwind and develop, they all were able to buy homes at that point. And they were all three, except for Paul. Paul bought a place to live near St. John's Wood, and if you know where that is in London, that's literally across. It's the same neighborhood that Abbey Road EMI Studios is in. So you can, and so he was in the city in London, so he was able to kind of go into he was the one going to who's the art avant-garde artist, the Stockhausen. He was into the other more the music concrete and all the kind of tape loops and stuff like that. So when he comes down to Revolver comes in, and that's where they do all the tape loop things. They it's Jeff Emmerich doing the faders, and everybody else was kind of in the country, kind of away from it. They wanted to be isolated. A lot of those guys did that. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards did too. They had their manners outside town.
Castle,
totally. But Paul was the hip one in kind of checking things out. And so as far as I want to say they did everything they wanted to do within the time period they did. I think by the time you get to India and onwards, when they were in India and they were just writing songs and they had so many songs.
Disillusioned, yeah.
And when you had Abbey Road being essentially, or not Abbey Road, the White Album being basically the writer and the backing band. That's kind of when you start to get the they have other means to find out what they want to do elsewhere.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
So don't you think that might have tickled something?
Oh, totally. Yeah. like the Dirty Mac. I don't know if you.
Oh yeah. No, I know from Rock and Roll Circus.
Yeah.
That don't get me started on Rock and Roll Circus.
Oh. all I want to do is recreate Rock and Roll Circus, and I think PLaNETS are.
Agree.
I think PLaNETS already beat.
I will be Yoko Ono. I will gladly be Yoko Ono. I will get in the sack and I will yodel on the microphone. I am a big Yoko Ono fan. I'm a huge Yoko Ono fan. Don't be that person. Don't be that guy. Okay.
I'm not. Don't care that much about Yoko. I mean, I'm indifferent. I have no problem with Yoko being Yoko.
Yoko is a gift. Is a real gift. She is the coolest person on this planet.
Yeah, and she has probably, there's the...
And it's, you know what? It's really fucked up how, like, I really just can't hang with that argument. And it's usually, like, men that are, like, all for that, like, oh, Yoko Ono broke up the Beatles. And it's like,
terrible.
Do your fucking homework. Like, don't come at me with that.
The funny thing, the funny thing for me is the cringiest thing for me about Beatles things is that the idea that Let It Be is the last record they ever made, and it's not. It's Abbey Road was the last thing they ever recorded together, isn't it? Like the last album.
Let It Be was like unfinished, right? It was
shelved.
Yeah, it was like, yeah. It's not my favorite. Let It Be is not my. I don't really. Let It Be is the Beatles album I probably have listened to the least, but there are songs I do like on it.
It depends.
Oh my God, this has become a Beatles podcast. Sorry, PLaNETS.
Yeah.
There's another band in town. Don't know if you've heard of them. They're called the Beatles. This is now a Beatles
sound a lot
podcast.
Like Greta Van Fleet. Now, I'm going to be honest. There's about like 3 questions I have PLaNETS related, and everything kind of organically grows after that. Okay. Essentially, it's how did you get in this predicament? Why is PLaNETS so awesome? And then let's just talk.
Well. So. Adam, I will say, this isn't connected to the Beatles, but it is kind of connected to that story about like connecting with connecting with Daniel through music. Is that Adam? I still, even after we played Casey's like a couple of times, and even though I was very much like, oh, this guy's our band friend, there's still that initial beginning period where you're still kind of sniffing each other's butts, like figuring out whether you're really like. And I remember going to his house. The first time, just hanging out with him. I don't know if it was the first time that I was at his house, because I'm sure we might have partied there already. But this was like the first time that Daniel and I got to like sit with Adam, and the thing happens where we start talking about music. And Adam and I have a Fever Ray connection. He was at the same Fever Ray show that I was at Coachella that completely just changed. I don't even know how to. That show was. Oh, I get chills every time I think about it. But I remember like when I said Fever Ray, like, and him saying like, I was there, like both of us just kind of like jumping up and be like, oh my God. Like it's just music is the one art form that really feels like it's for everyone as far as like an audience. Like you don't, museum has, people, I feel like people aren't really like, a lot of people aren't really open to going to a museum because maybe they think it's like too stuffy, or you know what I mean? Like
it's hard to, it's even for museums. I mean? Sometimes like, you look at it and you go, how do I break it in?
Not everyone is into a museum.
Yeah.
But you go to a concert, and this is, I'm from the desert, and the first like decade of Coachella, I was really lucky enough to go to some of those. Okay. And the thing that always blew my mind is that it didn't matter what I was seeing. The crowd, it didn't matter who I was standing next to. It didn't matter how different the person next to me looked. Like we were there to, I don't even know how this is coming out. Like you will see the most diverse group of people when it comes to seeing a concert. You do not see the most diverse group of people when it comes to seeing an art show. There's something
or even a movie.
Or even a movie. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like a concert, I have stood next to people that are so on the complete opposite of of who I am, of like, you know, like the way they dress. Like I wouldn't, you know, I'm sure that they've looked at me and been like, I wouldn't think she would be at an Iggy and the Stooges show. And I've looked at them and been like, I didn't think they would be at an Arcade Fire show. But like, we all love this music so much that it doesn't matter. And, you know, there's this like friendship that happens singing the lyrics together with strangers and like, you know, all the stuff that we're not getting right now. But no, there's something truly magical and overall connecting power of music that just like is just very holy and is very holy for me.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's also another reason that Adam Stillwell and Modpods get along. Adam Stillwell is someone that I can text at like 2 a.m, like, oh my God, this Bob Dylan song just decided to blow my mind, you know, and I know that he's not going to be like, what the hell is wrong with you? It's 2 a.m. Like he will listen to the Bob Dylan song and then we'll like start throwing Bob Dylan songs.
Let's break it down. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's like, I just want to engage with people. And it goes the same with like playing shows and being in venues and like, and you know, making stuff. I want to make stuff with people that like we're just like I don't know. We're just, you know, we love the music and and we want to make the stuff. So let's connect and see what happens.
Yeah.
And PLaNETS is, I feel like Adam Still is very much the same type of person.
Definitely. I was thinking about what you said about the diversity of experience, like of a music show. The only thing similar to that I would say maybe sports, but I don't want to tangent myself there. But I was at
I disagree with you.
Okay. Hold on.
Sports is not the same as a music show.
I know. I kind of hear me out in a minute.
Okay. To whisper.
I tend to. I have like. I might have an ADHD talking format. I don't structure my sentences enough.
Go for it.
So I was at So the last King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard show I went to.
Okay, yeah.
And I love those guys because they're like kind of the quintessential postmodern band. That's another band I talk about too much on the show, but it was at the Greek Theater. And the guy in front of me had one of those like denim vests that like bikers wear and kind of metalheads wear. Uh-huh. And it had, I swear to God, it had like the Misfits. It had a King Gizzard Nonagon Infinity symbol. It had, it may have had Fish. It had a Grateful Dead Steal Your Face logo. It had like everything you could think. Every single cult band, he had a patch on it, and it was like, this guy gets it. This guy is like, you just, you know, you gotta, sometimes you don't have to love everything. But, you know...
Yeah, but don't be so one-sided.
Yeah,
like that. I mean,
the most dimension, you know?
I mean, that's why I like going to that, like meeting PLaNETS and them being like, come play with us, be our band friends. Like, we did not... And a lot of the bands that I saw there, we didn't sound anything alike with each other. But it's like, we're all there to have fun and just, like, make our art. It gets really frustrating in LA because, I mean, back when there were shows... Even like being already like we are in a band that does get to play venues and stuff, and I feel really blessed and lucky that we get to play these venues now. But it is frustrating to go to a show and every band sounds the same and people are like all the same, and it's like this is a lot more harmful than you think. Like, you may not think. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't want to get too preachy or anything.
No.
But like,
I'm down for it.
People need to like be open, and like, I also think that people who have access. Oh my God, I don't know if this is going to be too weird or strong of an opinion, or how this is going to come out sounding.
I can handle it.
Okay, I really feel that people who have access to spaces, who are able to bring people into spaces to like not just make music, but like put up their art, they really have a responsibility to like ensure that everything is really represented in that space. It's very easy for people with that privilege of like having that space to be like, I'm only going to have my friends play, you know, and all my friends, you know, I'm really into, I don't know, hardcore. I'm really into, I don't know, fucking I'm really into the Doors, and all my fucking band friends sound like the Doors, and we all dress the same, and now I have this space, and look at all my band friends that sound like the Doors that are playing here. Not only that, it's all my band friends that are like from, one band friend is from like Portland, and one band friend is from Montana, let's just say that. One band friend is from New York, and us, we're from Iowa. There's a responsibility you have where, like, it isn't just like absolutely get your fucking friends to play, but also pay attention to what's happening in that environment around you.
Okay. Okay.
And really pay attention to, like, it is our duty as people who have like access to these spaces that can, like, present these spaces to people, to really like be open to all sounds and like welcome everyone, and also be aware of the things that have been existing there since before we even arrived, before we even came to the space. Like, there are so many bands, kids that are from LA that are in bands and creating music.
Oh, yes,
that
yes.
like
Okay.
we absolutely need to like bring them to the stages. Like, don't just pay attention to that one sound and that, like one, that group of people that, aren't even, I don't know. I don't know how that came out sounding, but
it came out. I think it came out fine. The my ability, I have a thing where I'm always open to almost any opinion. And now I have always trying to think of like I like Socratic countering to it. Like in my head, I'm like, okay, how do I do? It's like, and I was making and everything. It came out pretty well. I was thinking about like where we were getting into commerce, like business territory there, in terms of like making sure that if it just so happened that the only people that could pay, that had a bar tab. This is one of those things about like the pay to play scene that's difficult because it's a business that works for them. It sucks for everybody else. And I mentioned this about Ethan, where we were talking about it, and it's like, that's where if you're a hobbyist, it's like okay, but if you're trying to make some sort of living out of it, or it's not okay.
Pay to play is so mean. It's so mean. I really think so. Like, it's not a fan. I once saw Ian Svenonius. We went to see him talk, which he's really good at. He's the lead singer of The Makeup. And he said something really funny where it's like, with musicians, we're the only artists where it's like, when we do our job, it's called playing. So already, like, that's not really like, we're not really taken seriously as far as like working. But it's work, and we should get paid for it, not pay to have us play.
No argument here. No, I think it's a solid take for sure. As far
I think
as
my caffeine just hit too. So if I'm like coming out with like really like punchy opinions,
no, please. I much prefer.
My second wind just hit. I was really sleepy before this, and now I'm all like, wow.
It was the Beatles. It was the
Beatles. It was the Beatles and the Fever Ray.
By the way, I wanted to mention that I cannot find. I know the anthology you're talking about, and I had the VHS editions. I have not seen the DVDs, and I have not seen. It's not available on streaming, and I'm pissed about it because I just want to have that available on hand, because it does the same thing that you were doing, where you get kind of romantic about the idea about being in a band and making records and playing shows, and especially when they come off so they have this sort of humility trend about them being, we're just a little dance band from Liverpool, we didn't think everything was going to be this big, and I do believe him to the point. I always think about this, and this is where I get kind of where I start getting the anxiety bug about like Paul McCartney was 25 when he made Sgt. Pepper. Fucking hell!
I know.
He was 27 when Abbey Road came out. Fuck.
Yeah, I know.
So, and of course, I'm using the middle. Of course, George was 1 year younger, and John was 2 years older. So there's a whole. You can say, well, John was almost 30 when he was made Sgt. Pepper, or when he made.
I mean, it was probably easier I don't know. It seems like it was not, I don't want to say easier because I know that everything has its challenges and everything is actually very hard, but I'm sure it was, you know, you hear stories about, my favorite old timey stories is where it's like, I just walked into the New York Times building and told them that I wanted to write and they gave me a job. Like, I really think that there was a time where it was that
I was 16
easy.
when they, and that was actually, I talked to, I was able to meet Jeff Emmerich, the engineer for Revolver Onward, before he passed away a couple years ago. And I think he was working in like all those guys had little jobs they kind of worked their way up in the thing. And, you know, he was the second engineer for all those earlier records, you know? So, his first day on the job was Tomorrow Never Knows, which is bizarre.
Oh, I think I have that. He wrote a book.
Here, There, and Everywhere is the book.
I think I have that book. I have to read it though. I haven't read it.
I don't know if I have that book or not. I need to read it.
I think Mindy's boyfriend actually, he's a big Beatles person. I think he let me borrow that book and I might have it. I'm all looking at my books.
I have the Ken Scott book too as well. That was a different. He was the second engineer and did a lot of the White Album and Magical Mystery Tour.
The White Album was a Revolver, and I feel like the White Album and the side B of Abbey Road, I think, were the ones that really just. And then then I started thinking about like I really like a Magical Mystery Tour. Like there's songs that like I love Blue Jay Way. Like I love George Harrison. I love that song. Like he's so weird.
Did you ever find yourself driving on Blue Jay Way in Los Angeles and having that song stuck in your head? And
no,
if you ever driven past it,
I'll make it a thing.
I thought because on top of doing just sound gigs and recording, I also do corporate stuff and sort of I ended up doing having a gig for a house party. And it was on Blue Jay Way in that neighborhood up in the hills. And I kind of realized that I hate driving in the Hollywood Hills. I wanted to live in Laurel Canyon in high school. Like, that'd be so cool because I had family ties to Henry Diltz and the Crosby and Stills and Nash story is so cool. And there's that cool picture of Joni Mitchell and Eric Clapton and Little Baby with hanging out at it was Mama Cass's baby, and it was Cass Elliott's house, and it's just they're just chilling out at people's houses, pretty great. And it sounds like it sounds like something like a PLaNETS, like an Alhambra house kind of vibe. But I just remember driving through Blue Jay Way and just trying to dodge these cars that are too big for the road, like these giant Escalades are driving through these European sized roads, and I'm just I hate it here.
It's pretty, it's kind of intense driving through there. It's so pretty, but it's I'm I don't drive, but the times that I've been a passenger,
just the commute from let's say you're a well-off person, like you're an actor or some Hollywood big shot, some passing Avante, and you're just basically you don't have to do much, and your assistant does all the work for you in driving in and out of those houses. I'm just that's I can't do that. I mean, and here's the other thing. I actually live in Camarillo, so I'm born and raised out in Ventura County, and still out here. And so I don't have this this sort of, and I don't have the kind of mindset of a lot of these people in this scene that actually came from out of state, that were more or less transplants. They have a different idea of what it takes to live.
They sure do.
It's a different thing, and I take it you're actually from.
I'm from Palm Springs, but my dad's my dad was from LA. I spent a lot of time. I have a lot of family in LA. I spent time in LA. Daniel is born and raised Echo Park, which I love so much.
Wow.
But yeah, it seems like a lot of that is being pushed, or I don't know. It goes back to that thing of having responsibility of making sure that there's so much to be said for the Southern California sound, man, of the musicians who, let's go to that. Beatles, yes. But there's, they're same, we're anywhere, the music that is happening from the people that grew up there. Not to say that that's all we should be paying attention to in California venues, but we have a responsibility to make sure that we are nurturing those people. and not pushing them to the side just because we have this idea of LA, like being this place where like people from all over the world should absolutely play these spaces, but let's also pay attention to these people that are from here. That the Beach Boys were from California.
That's true.
The entire LA punk scene were kids from Los Angeles that just needed needed to make something, and like we there's something to be said for all of those bands. Like we have to keep nurturing that. Even we just have to. We have to. It's our responsibility, and that's what I appreciate so much about Adam. And I've told him this, and I'm not I don't want to be like Adam is. Because he's not the greatest guy in the world. No, I'm kidding.
We'll eventually find the third episode.
But he could have very easily, he got access to this back room in Casey's, and he could have very easily been like, I'm only going to let my dude friends play. Or I'm only going to let, my friends that are moving here from Montana play. He could have very easily have made it that way. But he knew, like he just knows he just knows. You have to be open, and like it doesn't matter if they look or sound like the thing that you like or not. If you see like a little spark of passion or the potential or any give them that space, give them those 30 minutes, because even though it may like look or sound like a shitty scribble, like when you give them that space, oh my god, I am caffeinated because now I'm getting emotional. When you give them that, it's then they perfect that scribble. Like Modpods, we're about to release our second album, and I'm so effing proud of how honed in it sounds and how, you know what I mean? And, totally. and we, and I can see the journey from point A to right now. And like, if it wasn't for people like Adam Stillwell or friends being like, I have this space, come play the stage, meet my friend. You don't get to that point without support and people helping you and pushing for you and championing you. And Adam Stillwell really championed for us when everyone else was like, what is you? Tape deck? Like, what is this? And he did not question it at all. He was just like, here's the space, do it. And I'm just so grateful. And I think that's how it should be. And yeah. Yeah.
This has been, I want to keep talking. I really do. And I think we'll get a chance to do that. Actually, even after this.
No, totally. Because I do want to tell one PLaNETS story. Because there is one PLaNETS story.
Please, yeah, go for it, please.
Like, there was this one time that like always sticks out to my head of like, Adam Stillwell has this like power to just like bring on the party and like have people submit to the party. And I really love that about him, is that every time I see him, I'm like, I'm not going to drink. And he just always gets me drunk. I'm not that big of a drinker, but there was this one time that PLaNETS had this party at their first house where they were like filming a movie, and they had it be this whole thing where they were like, you're going to show up and you're going to meet at this parking lot and a van's going to come and pick you up. So like Daniel and I remember we showed up and like the van picked us up, and it was like, I don't know who was driving, but we went to Alan's house, and it was like the warm up, and we didn't know, like we weren't given any information on what was happening. But Alan had made this special punch. I drank like 3 glasses. Like it was so delicious that I just kept drinking it. And then it was like, time to get back in the van and we're going to drive. And it was like, now you're at the PLaNETS house. And now PLaNETS is playing inside the house. And there was so many people. And I just remember that being so much fun. I loved this is, I used to be an unstable mess. This is now me getting my shit together and kind of becoming a little uptight. And I love that Adam always has he has that power to just like help me just get rid of that. And I remember just being so drunk, and like at first I was so anxious and like nervous because it's a Wednesday night. I have to teach like 6 classes the next day. Like, we got to leave by 10. I was there till like, I don't know, 2 a.m, just drunk off my ass, having the best time of my life. And I mean, it didn't matter that I had only had 2 hours of sleep and had to teach 6 classes the next day. It was all worth it. And I love that guy. Awesome. And I need you to do a podcast episode, a whole hour of the silverware fiasco.
Oh,
that was hilarious. I pissed my pants, and I want to know more.
That's been okay. This is based on what you heard from Nathaniel
yes.
And Nicholas. Okay,
I need a whole episode on this heirloom silverware. I need to know the conversations. I need to know who took the silverware. Can we get that silverware back to Adam Cotton? Like, just an hour, but we just need it. The people need it. That's all.
My plan. And this is still a very loose plan. We're about a little over halfway done with talking with everybody. The interview's been going great. And as soon as by the time we get, I think I'm going to run out of talks by April. And I want to do this. I want to do this sort of like circle back to Adam Stillwell and some of a lot of these core players. And see if I can do like a reunion show, like a kind of like a, one of those like awful, awful,
like Housewives reunion, and we could all yell at each other and throw chairs.
Yeah. Like one of those awful reality show reunions where they really air out all their grievances. But well, so I will make sure I don't forget about the silverware affair.
Oh my god. I have so many questions. If you don't know the questions to ask for that silverware fiasco, just email me. I will give you a list of questions. Sure. I know what needs to be asked.
Maybe I'll have you on. Maybe let's bring you on here and we'll
be like, I'm only here to talk about the silverware.
There we go.
I love those guys though. I love all of them. I love all of them. All of the planets.
This has been awesome. Yes. I will definitely have you back on to talk about all sorts of things. Maybe more Beatles. Who knows?
I'm down.
Let's do this again soon. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much, and it was great meeting you. And just thank you.